Check 1 2, check 1 2. Miami on the rocks. Casey Chopz. Want to give a big shout out and thank you to everybody supporting this podcast across all platforms: Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Please subscribe and leave a review. Follow us on Instagram at MIA on the rocks. Today's guest, I've known her for 10, 12 years. We used to intern together at Power 96 during our humble beginnings. She's in LA right now. We had to do a Zoom call. She's big time. I have Joy Taylor on the podcast, one of the biggest sports television hosts in the game, Fox Sports 1. I'm sure you've heard of the show The Herd. This COVID mess is crazy here in Miami. How is it in LA? Everybody's separated here.
No, we're pretty good about it. So I don't really know what the issue is. Like most people, I haven't seen anyone, honestly, in stores or anything that it doesn't have a mask on, or if you're walking around, like mostly when people are walking around, even away from people have masks on. We were really good about it. Remember, California was one of the first places to really shut down.
Yeah.
Hardcore and do the mask mandate. So people aren't really pushing back on it out here. I think it's just I'm not really surprised, to be honest with you, because we didn't open with 0 cases. We all opened and there were still a lot of cases. So
right.
I'm not actually surprised by the surge in numbers. If we had gone down to almost no cases or 0 cases, and then we had this spike, then I would really be surprised. But it's not surprising to me at all that this is happening. We opened too early. I mean, I'm going through it like everybody else. I'm losing my mind. I don't know what's going on, and I'm trying to not get sick and just try to not get other people sick. But who knows? I just think we're in management mode at this point.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if this is all gonna just disappear election time.
I pray it disappears every day. I did see on the AP, was it yesterday? It might have been this morning, that they had some promising results from the first vaccine. Mm-hmm. So they're finishing up the study this month. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll have some good news.
Do you get that COVID anxiety? It's yo, oh my God, do I have a fever right now? I feel hot right now. And do I need to get tested?
I'm back at work. So, it's, yeah, I mean, my fear, I live by myself, you know what I'm saying? So it's not, again, I'm not trying to get sick, but I have my more fear about being asymptomatic or something and giving it to somebody else.
Yeah, someone older. Yeah.
Yeah. So every time I'm oh, my stomach hurts a little bit. Oh, I'm a little itchy. Oh, I'm tired. Anything that happens, you're because literally everything is a symptom. So yeah, it's just this constant cloud of anxiety about everything, and then what's going to happen to the economy, and then it's a lot. But I do feel grateful, though. I think this has been a time when a lot of people have reconnected,
right?
And connected, talk to people in more depth than they have usually, because we're usually just go, hustle. What's next? What's going on?
Right.
And we don't really stop a lot. So this has been a time where, at least for me, I've gotten to really know people and talk to people I haven't talked to in a while, which is nice and positive, I guess.
That's awesome. How's you've lived in Miami for a long time and now you're in LA. How's the LA life in general? Are you a vegan now?
No, there are so many vegan spots out here, but no, I'm a meat eater. I don't really eat a lot of chicken. I'm on a meal plan now, so I'm eating more chicken than I usually do, but I'm more of a steak and potatoes and tacos and sushi kind of person.
Gotcha.
A lot of the sushi places out here. But no, LA is cool. LA is probably the easiest place to move to when you've lived in Miami for a long time, because you still have the beach, you still have the nice weather. It's not as hot. It gets pretty cold here in the winter, but you still have the beach, the views, the palm trees, the sunshine. The cities don't look anything alike, but there's parts of the city that kind of resemble each other. And you have, the glamour aspect that Miami has as well. But Miami is just it's still very different, very unique,
right.
International in a completely different way than LA is. But it's cool. I love the city of Los Angeles. The business is interesting. It can get kind of intense and crazy, but Los Angeles is great. I've been here almost 5 years now, 4.5 years. It's pretty crazy.
Wow. Jeez. I would assume it's kind of similar as far as the superficial bouginess. You know what I mean? Would you say that it's kind of similar to Miami, or is it worse, or is it less? You know what I mean?
It is. It's interesting. When I talk to people who live here that have lived in Miami or have spent time here that have lived in Miami, it's when I first moved here, like the first couple times I went out, you know, I'm dressing like I'm in Miami. Like, you know, when you go out in Miami, like going out with your girls or whatever, like you're wearing a dress, you're wearing heels. It's not a matter of like, you don't have to call each other like, hey, are you wearing pants tonight or whatever? Like, It's like, how dressy are we going? Like, are we going like over the top, or, you know what I'm saying? Are you wearing like a sundress or something? But it's pretty much like you're going to be done up, right? LA is not like that. So even if you're just going to a bar in Miami, you're not going to be chill. Like you're going to be in a romper and maybe like some, you know, nice flats. Like that's as chill as you're going to go.
Right.
LA is not like that. LA, first of all, everyone here wears black all the time.
Okay.
Like vampires, unless you're in like maybe one of like Hermosa Beach or something. They're a little more, you know, hippie, surfer-ish. But like for the most part, everyone is in black, like dark colors, almost like New York-ish. And yeah, that whole like heels and the short dress, and like I'm like, oh my God.
Everything is red carpet.
Here. Because it's just chill. Like you could go out in some yoga pants and a t-shirt and like some super expensive exclusive sneakers and like your super expensive bag and you're chilling. Like it's just a really low key vibe. There's very few places where you actually have to get dressed up. The clubs and stuff, of course, the clubs are clubs wherever you go, but like club scene's not I mean, I'm a little older too now, so like the club scene to me is not what I'm really trying to do.
Right.
So if it's just like an average night out, yeah, you really don't, it's much more chill here. So that is like a big difference. And I think like Miami really doesn't get the credit for the glamour that the city is. I mean, obviously it's very hot also. So really you want to be wearing less clothing anyway.
Right.
But it's, yeah, Miami, you know what it is. Like you're not going out looking
because people do forget that it is the 11th market. It's still like, you know, not one of the top 5 markets, but yeah, that's crazy.
No, it's a huge city, of course. But it's just when people think of Miami, they only think of South Beach and Live and, you know, Mansion and, you know, 11 and a Mansion. I'm going throwback. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like you just think of like the club scene, South Beach, partying. And you don't really know, if you've not spent time in Miami, you don't understand it's like a whole actual giant, enormous city. And it really just isn't just Miami, it's Fort Lauderdale, Miami.
Right.
So, you know, people who haven't really spent any time there other than visiting and going to South Beach don't understand the vibe of the city. So it's definitely different.
So given like the current climate of COVID and all that, has it been difficult for you guys to like, sports is shut down? I mean, it's slowly reopening, but has it been difficult to find like content to talk about?
You know, it's kind of crazy because it's been difficult. I'm not going to say it's been easy, but it's not been as hard as I thought it was going to be. Like when sports shut down, I was like, what are we going to do? Yeah. What are we going to do? But then once I calmed down, I was like, okay, let's like look at the schedule, right? Very luckily, we got the Super Bowl in. That was huge. And we got the Combine in. So it shut down pretty much after the Combine, which was huge for the draft. So some pro days even got in too before everything shut down. So we lucked out. And I mean, it obviously was brutal for NBA and MLB, but the NFL season had just finished right when everything shut down. So we had the draft, we had free agency, Tom Brady leaving, which was massive. We've had stories like Cam Newton. We had, you know, Jamal Adams, Dak Prescott. There's been so many like off-season stories this year that have been huge for free agency, which NFL usually doesn't really have. It's usually just NBA free agency that we discuss like that. But because there's so much quarterback movement this year, and so many big names like Tua and, you know, Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. So we really had a lot of topics. And then, you know, we actually managed to do a lot of the content without focusing on Corona up until recently as well, because it was like, nobody wants to hear that every single day on top of having to hear it on the news. Right. You know, so we did a pretty good job of, I think, at least for our show, of kind of focusing on, you know, what we could actually really talk about. But the way I looked at it was this: because we do a national show, and you know what this is because it's how you program for music stations, play the hits, right? So we don't have to cover every single story. We cover the biggest stories and get different angles on that story and stuff that, you know, works for our show. So we didn't really have to get into any of the, COVID stuff for a while. And because of that, we didn't have to really focus on the NBA not being around and MLB not being around, because every year in this, actually like around this month, this is usually like a really rough month because NBA is done.
Right.
There's not really any NFL news, and it's just the middle of baseball season. That's like usually this is the time we always take off work because it's like there's nothing really going on. We're not going to talk about baseball, like a random baseball game every single day.
Right.
So I just looked at it like this, and I told everybody, that I work with, like, just look at it as an extended, midsummer situation. We're always struggling for stories around this time because we're not talking about baseball every single day. And we've been able to get through it. Like, I don't even feel like we're getting through it. I feel like we're just doing our show. And, some days are, drier than others, but, we'll do different angles on the same topic or whatever. But we've managed to get through it. We had UFC, which was big. MLS is back now, looking good, and we'll have baseball and basketball back in 2 weeks, God willing. So after that, we'll just, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine having your job right now in this climate. Like, you have the COVID climate right now, but then you add on like the political, undertones to it and all the other stuff that's happening in the country. And do you ever get scared, like, as far as like misspeaking sometimes, or like saying the wrong thing, or because?
Yeah, I mean, there's times when I feel that way, but recently, no, because I guess I'm so convicted in what it is that I'm talking about.
And what you believe in is, yeah.
And I'm so sure that I'm on the right side of history,
right,
that if you're offended,
yeah,
kind of know where you lie.
Exactly.
So there are certain topics where, I mean, I'm the kind of person, and I know you feel this way too, because you're in the business as well. Like, there's just certain things where you really feel like, let me just read a little more about this. Let me educate myself a little more about this before I give my opinion.
Right.
Because you don't want to say something that offends someone. But this is my life. So I don't, you know what I mean? I don't need to ask anybody what it's like to be afraid of the police. I don't need to ask anybody what's it like to be, discriminated against because of my hair, or what I look like, or, where I'm from. I don't need to ask anyone these questions. I don't need to ask anyone what it feels like to get that call from someone in your family that's happened to them.
Right.
So to me, those things, this part doesn't make me nervous, but I also remember that, it's when I speak, I'm not speaking just for myself. Right. So I always research. Like, people have like this script they hit, you know what I mean? Like, stop watching CNN and blah, blah. Right. But it's like, I don't watch the news ever. Like, that's not what
I don't think most millennials watch the news. It's kind of like an outdated medium. And by now, everyone has their own agenda when you're watching the news. So it's like,
the agenda thing is why I don't watch the news. I'm not somebody who likes to be told that I'm right. I like to know that I'm right. So I want to read. I don't want to read anything that I can't use as a source in a college paper. Exactly. I'm not interested in Wikipedia or memes or, your Instagram opinion or anything like that. I need to read something where if this thing that I'm reading is incorrect, they have to print a retraction. That's where I want to get my information from. So I always feel like a responsibility to be researched, even for sports too, because I'm giving my opinion. I want to give my opinion based off facts. Right. So I don't get nervous about speaking, and especially, on this topic. I do know what you're talking about. Because it's so easily for you to get, like, someone could easily take something you say out of context and maybe get a sound bite from something and display it a different way. That's kind of more what I'm leaning on with this. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. No, I'm very careful about stuff like that. I'm very careful about that. But I've always been careful about that because I know the business. Like, we know how the sausage is made. Right. So I always try and be careful to use my words in a way that, hopefully don't get, soundbite clipped apart and, misrepresent what I'm saying. But, if it ever gets to a point where it's something that egregious, right, then you just take the time to correct everybody. But I do try and be aware of that. Yes. And I would imagine, like, you are in the you're in a corporate setting, right? So you're with a bunch of older,
like people from the older generation. So I'm sure you've had to educate them on a lot of different things. Would that be safe to say? Like,
but as far as communicating goes, and educating people, yeah, I have. I've had to have conversations with a lot of people about what's happening right now and what that means. And
like I'm sure you've been shocked, like, oh, you feel that way? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm not really shocked that people ever feel a certain type of way when I know them. If I don't know you and you're just, out here saying crazy stuff, then I'm, more alarmed that, I guess that doesn't make sense. But if I know where you come from and I know, like,
you know where your heart lies,
and I know where your heart lies, sometimes it's more of like, okay, so this is the moment where you do learn that everyone doesn't have the same experience, or you do learn that, just because I'm, here working with you, that, I didn't always live in Los Angeles, I've come from a different world. So, yeah, but I think it's a good thing. I think it's a time in history that we're going to watch closely and remember very closely. And because of a multitude of different things, a combination of things, we're sort of in an age of enlightenment that, we've been trying to push for and get to for a while now. But, mostly through the internet, there's no denying these things are happening. There's no, there's so much, it's given such a voice to so many different people that you just can't keep your head in the sand anymore, unless you just insist on keeping your head in the sand, which is,
right.
That's a choice, but history is going to remember that you did that. That's how I really feel. I'm at the place now, which is why earlier I said, like, I don't get nervous about speaking my heart on this, because I know how I really feel, and I know what I've been through and what people close to me have been through and what I know other people have been through. That, if you're choosing to, like, we got two sides now, unfortunately, right? I'm not a Democrat or
right.
Like, I don't care what a political party's opinion about something is. Like, I'm too intelligent.
This is a humanitarian thing. This isn't even a political thing.
No, it's not. But people politicize everything, and people are lazy. Like, they can't say anything other than politics. So it's like, anytime you talk about anything that other people are going to, like, stop talking about politics. Like, this, what part of politics is this?
Yeah, exactly.
None, zero. You're just saying things. Again, it's like a script, right? Chicago, All Lives Matter, politics.
I'm over trying to, like, you can't break it down any simpler for people. So I'm over trying to simplify it anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I'm over trying to explain. By now, if you don't get it, you're choosing not to get it. And now I know where you lie. You revealed your cards. And now I kind of have to think of you as an enemy, kind of, to me.
I don't want to go as far as enemy, but that's what I was saying. Like, I think that while my opinions about a lot of things aren't necessarily all left or, right, or whatever you want to say, I do think that the world is split right now. Certainly our country is split, and it's just divided, and I don't like it, but that's where we are.
Right.
And I don't think it started with this president. I don't think it started with Obama. I think it's been this way for a long time, and now we've just reached a true divide. And part of that is history and everything that's happening right now. Like, this is a time in history we're going to look back on. And 20 years from now, we're going to be talking about what happened right now, not just COVID, but Black Lives Matter and so many other social issues, or how people acted. Were you that idiot that was buying up all the toilet paper so nobody else in your, town had toilet paper? Like, what is history going to look back and remember you as at this time? And sometimes in life, it's okay to just say, look, I thought this way my whole life, and I don't think that way anymore. Or I was wrong, and now I want to do better and learn. That doesn't make you stupid. That doesn't make you a bad person. That doesn't make you anything other than somebody who wants to grow. And don't you want to be a better person? Or you want to just stay the same for your entire life? That's not intelligence. I'm sorry. Like, I consider myself to be an intelligent person. I want to be a better person. I don't know anything.
And you want the world to be a better place too. It's not just
like, I don't know everything. When I was young, I thought I knew everything. You couldn't tell me anything. And now I know I know less than I think I know. So I always want to know more. I always want to learn more, because that's the only way I'm going to be better. And, like, I want to make my life better and make other people's lives better. So, like, whatever you do, whoever you are, you don't, if someone's sitting there telling you, like, sitting across from you, telling you this is what my life experience has been. I'm telling you that this is my life experience. This is my family like before that, and my other person's family and the other person I grew up with. Like, it's a real thing. And for you to sit there and say like, nah, it's a hoax, or nah, it's not really like that. Like, how are you going to tell someone else what their experience is? How does that even work? So yeah, so I'm with you. Like, I get tired of trying to explain it, but I also feel like it's just necessary to keep forcing the conversation.
Right. And then for an example, you take something like the whole Redskins name change, right? This is something that is so blatantly obvious. It's such an obvious move that should be done and should have been done a long time ago. And yet you still have people like, what is the other side of the argument to that? I don't understand what can you possibly bring up? And when you sit back, like 2020 is crazy, but when you sit back, you're like, wow, there really has been a team in the NFL called the Redskins for like, and you don't stop to think about how ridiculous it is.
Like you said, it's such an obvious slur. It's so obvious, but people will still argue it like, oh, like it's honorable. Like, no, if we had a team called the Blackskins, it would not be honoring Black people in this country, like, or apply it to anyone. Like, it's not honoring Native Americans. And if Native Americans are outside of the stadium protesting the name, change the name. Yeah. Like, what are you trying to prove? That you have power? Are you trying to prove like, no, I have decided that this is not offensive, and I have decided that I am honoring you by continuing to use this name that you're telling me is offensive to you. Right. Doesn't make any sense, which is why I'm not giving the owner any credit for changing it. Like, right. You get no credit whatsoever. The only reason it was changed is because it was forced to be changed by FedEx, Pepsi, and Nike, who are collectively worth $620 billion. That's why it changed. And it's right. It was the right thing to do. And I'm glad it's happening. So like, I can't be mad at the progress of it, because yes, good, change it, finally. But I'm just giving the credit where the credit is due. But it has been a conversation for a long time now. It's just that now there's no distractions, right? There's nothing to look at anymore, because we've all been dealing with Corona for months now. So we're not distracted by Corona. You know what I mean? In the beginning, it was like, that's all we could talk. Still all we're talking about, but you know, now we're home, we're almost getting back to quarantine again. So let's fix these things that have been existing in our society that people have been ignoring or otherwise unaware of, you know, for a long time. Do
you have the inside scoop on what that name change could potentially be?
No, it's delayed because someone went through, and I guess they had the scoop, and they tried to trademark all of the possible names that they were looking at changing it to, which I don't think will stand, because trademark law is like very complicated, but they are going to change it. I'm not sure what it is. They said that they were going to change it to something else related to Native Americans. That did not end up being a thing. Well, I saw something and I was like, wow, this could be an amazing idea if I'm the owner of the Redskins, right? Because you could take this and like turn it into a positive. And I was like, I saw a thing on Twitter. I was like, this could work perfectly. Change the name to the Red Tails, like the first, you know, all black pilot regiment from World War II. And, you know, I think that'll be dope. And it's, you go from Redskins to Red Tails, and now you're paying homage and you're acknowledging the climate that we're in. And you could literally turn this whole thing around and get a whole new outlook on what your franchise would be. And it's just such an easy move to me. It's such an easy thing that you could. I have a feeling like, because there was such a social media push for that may end up being what they change it to. But I have no idea. I'm sure that the NFL is going to be heavily involved in it, in whatever it gets changed to. But I mean, how do you feel about the NFL just moving forward? Just seems like it's going to be business as usual, and there's so many things that don't make sense to me. Like, you're going to have, you know, 50 player teams on the field in a full body contact sport, but then they're not allowed to like exchange jerseys, and they have to social distance as soon as the whistle blows. And it's like, yo, what is going on right now? Am I living on a different planet? Yeah. I mean, I don't get the jersey swap thing. But I will say this though, it's almost like getting to the place where people like complaining about masks, like when everything first opened up, like when everything first started to reopen, everyone was like, but I have to wear a mask. Like, Who cares?
Yeah, that was your Karen voice. That was a really good Karen voice. That was a really good Karen voice.
Yeah. I mean, for real though. Like, do you want to would you like to just stay in your house? Then you don't have to wear a mask in your house. Don't you want to get out of your house and go somewhere with your family? Wear a mask. It's like you want everything all at once. I get it. It doesn't make a lot of sense if you're playing a full contact sport that you can't trade jerseys, but it's also like, let them do whatever small precautions they can do to try and contain stuff. I think that they're going to learn a lot from this bubble situation in Orlando. And they're going to learn a lot from MLB, which MLB will actually be, even though obviously it's not a contact sport, it'll be closer to what the NFL is going to do because they're actually traveling and playing in their home facilities. Right. Whereas the bubble, everyone's, obviously contained and staying at Disney. So I think they'll learn a lot actually from MLB because they're doing the traveling still, even though they're going to limit it to more regional traveling. Look, the NFL is moving forward and it's still a few weeks off. So hopefully we'll learn some new things before it starts. And, they're going to have everyone quarantine, I'm sure, before camp and do as much testing as they can. But like I said, we're in management mode now. It's not gone. We don't have any answers on when it's going to be gone. And we have to move forward economically and do the best we can to try and protect the people that are vulnerable while continuing to move the world forward. Right.
How do you feel about the whole NBA, like the bubble league? How do you feel about that whole dynamic? Because it is the opposite of what the MLB and the NFL is doing. And
I feel like it's the only way the NBA could do it because unlike MLB, which is, you're kind of socially distanced anyway in MLB and NFL where you're wearing, a lot of equipment. Even though there are more players in contact sports, you do have, they're testing out mouth shields and different things like that. Basketball, there's no equipment. It's just a little jersey and it's hands-on, face-to-face, chin-to-chin. Like it's very intimate of a sport. And if you're not 100% COVID-free, I don't know how it works. So I think they had to do it in a bubble and do it how they're doing it, where they're quarantining everybody and testing everybody every day. I'm sure it's going to be, to me, the COVID part of it is obviously a huge factor, but I just think that just mentally, like we were talking about, just the anxiety of possibly getting it or giving it to somebody else, like what those guys are going to be dealing with is so wild to me. Like they're going to be away from their family for at least 2 months, everyone that's there. Because, once playoffs start, a certain amount of teams are obviously going to go home. It didn't make the playoffs. And then as playoffs continue, more and more teams will go home. They're allowed to get visitors once the first round of playoffs start, but then that's a whole process. Like their visitors have to be quarantined before they can see them. And then they can't leave the bubble again once they come in. So if like your family comes at the beginning of playoffs and they want to come back at the end, they can't. And there's only a certain amount of people that can come in. You only have a certain amount of rooms. It's like really intense on top of constantly being tested. And have you been tested yet?
Nah.
Yeah.
I haven't had symptoms.
I mean, if you didn't need to get tested, but I'm saying like I've been tested twice. It's a lot of anxiety to be tested every single time. And then you're playing, you're trying to get back in shape. You're still playing for a championship. It's just a lot that's being asked of them. So mentally, And
what do you do when you're not playing, Like, what is I don't know the political correct term, but like from what I've read, they have like spies that are going to make sure that they're abiding by all the rules and regulations, or?
They have a snitch line. It's called the hotline. But
okay. See, I'm glad we could speak in like our terms, Joy. The snitch line. That's nice.
Snitch line. And I don't understand it. And I don't understand how it works. It's supposed to be anonymous, right? But my thing is this. So we knew about the like possibility of the snitch line, but now it's a thing and people are already snitching. And my thing is this, if it's anonymous, how do you verify the information? Like, how do you know this isn't just someone, who's about to play the Heat that's snitching on somebody that they saw walking like near the exit?
But how does that work? How does that work? Is it like, yeah, I'm anonymous. I just saw Russell Wilson shopping at Barney's in downtown Orlando. Like, what does a snitch call sound like? He's, I just saw him at the Applebee's and like, I don't understand.
Like, who can snitch? And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't get it. I don't get how it works. Well, like, how would you see someone at Applebee's, right? So it's like, you can only snitch if you see them leave, I don't understand it. I just would stay away from it. I don't believe in snitching.
Yeah.
But again, like, it's there to keep everyone safe. So if you got like a couple guys who are just like leaving all the time,
yeah,
breaking the bubble, could get everyone sick and blow the whole thing up. So it's like, what do you do? I don't know. I'm hoping everyone is like locked in. There's been 2 guys who have broken the rules so far. One guy just left his room but didn't leave the bubble. He didn't realize for quarantine you have to stay in your actual room for 2 days.
So they can still fly groupies in, or they got to get the groupies have to be quarantined?
No, nobody can enter the bubble right now for 2
Who's
months.
going to be the first one to get in trouble for flying a groupie in?
I mean, you can bring them. You can't get them in. You can leave, but once you leave the bubble, when you come back in, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And if you miss games for breaking the bubble and being quarantined, you don't get paid for those games that you miss.
That is so nuts to me.
So she better be fly.
Yeah, shit. Man, they had and then a big argument over here that's dividing people is, do we send the kids to school in a month from now? And the governor just came out with he just announced saying that. So, and this was a point I was like, wow, he's right. Like, there's going to be, if there's no real schooling, there's going to be a whole class of seniors that don't get to play football or athletics or get a chance to like compete for a scholarship. You know what I mean? And then that's a crazy.
There's a lot of ripple effects to the kids not going back to school or not having sports. It's really there's so much that goes into it. Like even college too. Like a lot of these college guys and girls not being able to play, and they lose a year, and you get a year older, and I would not be one. I do not envy anyone who has to make those decisions because there's just so much that goes into it, and jobs and think about it. Like these kids are at home with their parents. Their parents might have to go to work. And if you're talking about young kids that they can't leave at home and trust to do their work, what do they do? A parent stays home. It's just, it's a lot. It really is. I'm sad that this is not more managed at this point in the year when you have to start making these calls about whether the kids are going to go back or not. But you're absolutely right. There's a lot that rides on kids going back to school, and athletics is a big deal. It's a huge part of that.
Yeah. Well, Joy, I'm not going to keep you for too long. I appreciate you taking the time to do this podcast, do this call with me. We've known each other for a long time. And
I was thinking about, Chopz, before you call? I was thinking about when all the crazy dumb stuff we used to do when you and I were interns for Laz.
Surviving DJ Laz. We made it out alive.
I'm going to text Laz that. Surviving DJ Laz. I'm going to text him that. What time is it there? It's 9 o'clock.
Yeah. No. What was the craziest thing he made you do? Because I could think of the shit he made me do.
I can't tell that story.
No.
No
Wait, what story about the stripper for your birthday? Was that one? Didn't he get you a stripper for your birthday?
For my birthday?
Yeah.
No.
Nah. Oh.
No.
Okay.
Remember he made you eat that pepper?
He made me eat a pepper. He made me eat a whole culotta of Cuban coffee. Like, for the people that don't know what Cuban coffee is, you take a shot of it. You take a little shot of it, and it's equal to like 3 regular coffees, just the shot. He made me chug the whole culotta, which is like the whole bottle of coffee. And I was there like shaking, like I thought I was going to have a heart attack. And he's laughing like ratings, woo, ratings are going up. Like
Evie dressed up like Mrs. Santa and did the blow up obstacle course outside of the radio station.
Oh my, I remember that. I remember the Marlins pitchers threw eggs at Al. Al had to take off his clothes, and the Marlins pitchers had to like throw fastballs with eggs like directly at, I'm like,
what was it? It was Calle Ocho. And what did you perform? I Love Chongas.
You produced that video. That was
I did make that video.
Yo, that shit has
I did make that video.
It has a smooth like 40,000 views.
That's the song, right?
Yeah.
I Love Chongas. Yeah. You went viral.
Yeah, it has like a smooth 40,000 views still. I think I hit you up like, Joy, can you take that down? Like, that was like your final exam to like film that shit or something.
I I don't know if I can get that down. Man, that's crazy. Yes. Well, so it makes me laugh, right? Because we used to have to do the wildest stuff. And I was in school and working and interning there. And people really have the audacity to tell me, like, all the time on social media that, like, my brother got me this job at Fox. And I just feel like, you don't know what I've been through.
Wow. Yeah, like you literally had to go through hazing, like literal hazing, like media hazing. People don't understand. It's like getting accepted into a fraternity. Like if you want to have a career in media, I mean, not now, everything is, but politically correct. But like 12 years ago, I had to like first of all, I couldn't have a relationship. As soon as I told Laz about, some relationship problems off air, he'd be like, nope, go to the mic, turn on the mic, and boom, now my business.
Go to the mic. That was like famous last words. If you had to go to the mic, all your business was out there. I
lost so many friends just by my business being out there on the radio, but that's crazy.
So crazy.
We had some time.
Laz didn't answer. We'll have to do this again and call Laz, and we should start a series, surviving.
Surviving. I had to take off my shirt and just get in a slapping contest. I don't know if you remember that. I had to. Damn, what else did we do?
Wild stuff. But you know what though, Laz is the godfather and he's the kingmaker, and he blessed both of our careers, and I'm very, very. I feel very lucky to have him.
Because he kind of gave us the thick skin that is required to do this job. You know what I mean? Like,
he's just an OG too. Like he knows how to make anything entertaining. Like,
right.
It could be the most random story that you come in and tell him, and we would do 3 hours on it. But you know what my most favorite memory of us, not to end on a sad note, but it is real though.
Mm-hmm.
Because we did a lot of crazy stuff, and that was a fun year. But I remember one day we came in and we got a call from a woman who was asking if we could just mention something on the air about donations or something that Laz could do, because a family had just lost their 3 kids, a drunk driver. The husband had just dropped his wife off at work or something and was sitting at a red light, and a drunk driver rear-ended them, killed all 3 of their kids instantly. And the church was trying to just raise money because they didn't have enough money for their funeral. So I just took the information and told Laz about it. I think you remember this.
Yeah.
And we just wiped the whole show, everything that we had planned for that day, and just raised money for them for the rest of the day. Just basically did like a call-a-thon for this family. Pitt came by and donated money, Timberlands, just everybody, like everyone around the city was calling in. People were just coming by, just giving $5, like if they just happened to be driving by the station. And we just raised thousands of dollars for this family for their kid's funeral, which was that's just what Laz is. Like he's just 305 all the way, and he'll just do whatever for the community.
He can make you so mad. He could make you so angry in his. And at the same time, he'll do something like that, Radio Lollipop, and raise $100,000 for the kids in the hospital. And like, it'll make all the torture that he puts you through like worth it. You know what I mean? It's like, because
he didn't torture me as bad as he tortured you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I have PTSD, so
a little easier than that. But
yeah, I appreciate you. I don't want to take any more of your time, and yeah, let's do this again. And yeah, keep me informed how COVID's going. And are you doing any traveling with everything opening up, or are you kind of going to stay in LA?
Because it's the problem is, like, I got to be at work, you know what I'm saying? So if something happens, I get quarantined, I can't work from everywhere. So I'm gonna be in LA. So if you make it out here when things ease up, let me know.
Yeah.
But if not, unfortunately, it'll probably be a little while before I'm back down in Miami. But I miss you guys. I miss the 305. And eventually, when everything opens back up, I got to go to a Chopz party because I've never been to one.
Oof. Yeah, you got to pull up. You got to pull up. Well, Joy, thank you. Have a great night, and we'll keep in touch.
All right, Chopz.
Later.